All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello, all. It's our Friday show, and the Friday audience is my favorite audience, if I can say that, of the entire. Please be seated. My gosh, I am both honored and humbled at the same time by this outpouring of affection. And let the affection end by welcoming in Kim, everybody.
Kim, how are
Come
you?
on, yes.
Really?
Kim just said, I think you look so adorable. I was looking the other day and I thought you look adorable. Man, guys don't want to be told that they look adorable.
I was commenting on the way your hair does this little curly swoop in the front.
It's disgusting. Even
And
when
I
you use the word
think it's
little.
adorable.
Exactly.
No,
the entire comment was designed to diminish me.
Why are you yelling?
I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I love the way you look so cute. Your little, this is so adorable.
Cute.
And little.
It's so cute.
Tony gets it.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. And
Totally
It's like
what my
a
hair
little
does to
mini
curly
pompadour.
thing. Yeah,
It is.
totally.
Cute.
No, that is an
Love it.
insult masquerading as a compliment, and don't think that I don't realize it.
No, that's all
But
about
look,
how
let
you
the
take
acrimony be set aside.
it. Try to
We've
give a
got a
compliment, and I
terrific
get
show today
slapped
with some
back.
great guests.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. In fact, right out of the chute, let me know when he gets into the green room. The former media critic for the Trib is going to come through to talk about Jeopardy Masters, everyone. Jeopardy Masters, they put all the brainiacs up against each other. And, you know, it's anybody's game. And I have to say, they were on another level. And the results are in. I mean, it's been more than 24 hours, so you should be able to, yeah, I think we're allowed to talk about it. So we'll start with that, but I've got a lot of politics today. Donald Trump was in the Bronx. It was as though he was running for mayor. You know, his comments and his general disposition was really all about New York. I guess that's what you have to do. All politics is local. But it felt very much like he was running for mayor. That said, he was definitely in not so much Trump country. They curated very carefully the crowd that showed up, and it wasn't a big crowd. There was a bigger crowd probably that would come to encircle on some level the Trump crowd, and there were words exchanged and some fisticuffs and yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that. Michael Shure will weigh in on that. We'll also talk about some new polling. I know people get a little bit weary of polling. Maybe it's too early to look at polls, but you do try to take the temperature of the electorate a bit. Also, the electors who tried to reverse the defeat of Donald Trump in 2020, they are actually in position to be electors again, to serve as electors again. Republican activists in at least 3 states where Donald Trump tried to reverse his defeat in 2020, nearly all of them under criminal indictment for casting electoral votes for him despite his loss. They are poised to reprise their roles as presidential electors this year. This from the Washington Post. 6 activists in Michigan, Nevada, and New Mexico have made clear to GOP leaders in their states that the investigations into their 2020 activities have not deterred them from seeking the position again.
Wow.
If anything, they say, their view that the prosecutions are bogus has motivated them to step up. Their eagerness to serve and their encouragement to do so from their parties reflects a widespread belief among Republicans that the electors did nothing wrong in 2020. And that, of course, raises the question of what would they do or say if Trump loses again in those states where they are electors? Would they be willing to, again, get together and cast electoral votes for Trump? And would the Trump campaign actually organize something like that? How far would they go to help Trump return to power? So this is, again, one of these things that I think bears watching. And it's a sad sign of the times. You'll let me know when Bill Mann arrives.
Yes.
Meantime, speaking of sad, I have to tell you, really was sad, and it's been a sad week, man.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Documentary filmmaker Morgan Spurlock passes away, 53 years old. The guy had cancer. He was famous for eating at McDonald's and only eating at McDonald's for 1 month. And it was to illustrate the dangers of the fast food diet. And if you haven't seen that movie, it's called Super Size Me. You have to check it out. Not a long watch. I think it's like 90 minutes. And it's terrific. It immediately becomes clear that there are immense detrimental physical effects to eating this food. And it's such a simple concept. The beauty of Morgan Spurlock was he took this grand problem, which is the American diet, and he distilled it into a simple strategy. I'm going to eat at McDonald's and only at McDonald's for 30 days. And 2 weeks in, as I recall, the cardiologist is saying to him, you should stop this. It's really awful for what's happening right now. They take his blood regularly and they show you all of the labs. And he gained about 25 pounds.
Wow.
And he saw a spike in cholesterol, lost his sex drive. I mean, it had a massive effect on his body.
Wow.
So that movie, which was an award-winning film, that won all kinds of awards, and it also won the attention of the public. I think it really that was the sort of filmmaking he did. He then did Super Size Me 2, Holy Chicken. That was a look at an industry that processes 9 billion animals a year in America alone. And he focused on 2 issues. Chicken farmers stuck in a peculiar financial system, and the attempt by fast food chains to deceive customers into thinking they're eating healthier when they aren't. He said, we're at an amazing moment in history from a consumer standpoint. Consumers are starting to have more and more power. It's not about return for the shareholders. It's about return for the consumers. He really had kind of a Michael Moore type style, but he also, I would say, had a sense of humor and also a relatability that I think puts him in a class separate from Michael Moore. Anyway, I was a fan, and I think his work, he did the Palm Wonderful Presents the Greatest Movie Ever Sold. I barely remember that movie, but I remember it was really good. It was about, I think, the deals you make for sponsorships. And, in film, there it is, the greatest movie ever sold. And he sat down with the Palm Wonderful people because they essentially stepped up with a lot of money. And so he literally offered them, above the title credit. And that's why the film is called Palm Wonderful Presents the Greatest Movie Ever Sold. It's all about product placement, marketing, and advertising. I really recommend that movie too. These are fun watches in addition to making a point.
It's really important because sometimes you don't even realize you're watching a movie, and it's sometimes very down low. Sometimes it's in your face, but sometimes it's just, there's an advertisement.
Oh, we lost Kim a little bit. Yeah, but Kim's right. I mean, sometimes it's subtle, but now they'll make entire films based on the underwriting that they're getting from a lot of product placement, offset some of these big budgets. He also did Where in the World is Osama bin Laden, this is in 2008, where he went to find Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden was killed in 2011, so this film was in '08. Anyway, he has 2 sons and his mother he's survived by. And, when you die young, you're survived by a lot of people. Father Ben, brothers Craig and Barry. Anyway, very sad news about Morgan Spurlock.
Died of leukemia, I think.
53 years old. Yeah. Wow. Just in one of the scenes in one of his films, the Super Size Me, I think it was, he does a little segment, everything's bigger in America, he says in the movie. We've got the biggest cars, the biggest houses, the biggest companies, the biggest food, and finally, the biggest people. And he said in one scene, I guess this is, I'm just reading about, I saw the movie so long ago. In one scene, Spurlock showed kids a photo of George Washington, and none recognized who it was. But they all instantly knew the mascots for Wendy's and McDonald's. He made that movie, Super Size Me, for $65,000.
Wow.
It made $22 million. And then it was followed by a film called Fast Food Nation that was an Eric Schlosser film. But Spurlock was first with a simple concept that made a big impact. Anyway, Morgan Spurlock, 53 years old.
The Mark Thompson Show.
You'll tell me when Bill Mann gets here, I guess.
Yeah, no. So far, no. I sent him the link twice.
Bill Mann, who did nothing on Jeopardy Masters or Jeopardy Masters. I can't believe he didn't do anything. I said, look, come on the show. We'll do something on it. My problem with doing some of these things is, first of all, I can't show any clips from the actual show because we'll be struck on YouTube. Secondly, I can't show any real results or discuss any real results because I'll get barked at for spoiler alert, and for spoilers, and I guess I could do a spoiler alert, but you can see you begin to have to tiptoe around, so I just backburnered it, and when he hit me with it, I thought, oh, cool, well, come on, you'll tell us about it. But we're still waiting for him. So as we wait, I've got Friday Fabulous Florida, I've got Politics with Michael Shure to kick off the second hour, and of course the Great Culture Blaster on movies and television and things that are streaming. Buying a car this weekend.
You are?
Yeah, before you get too excited.
What kind of car are you going to get?
We're getting a super used car.
Oh.
If there is a super used parking lot, that's where we are. It's probably a Nissan Leaf. We think we're going to get a Nissan Leaf, just a little commuter car. We just need something to get from here to there. Not a big deal with a range of 70 miles or whatever. And that looks it looks to be what this car actually has. It's like 70 miles of range. There it is.
Are you trading in the Tesla? Or are you just adding to your collection?
No. This would be a second car. But I'm happy to drive this. I mean, she can drive the Tesla. But my life's over, Kim. I don't need any curb appeal when I pull up.
No.
Fine. Give me the Leaf.
Might as well have a car seat in the back and a couple kids playing back there.
Thank you. Right. Yes, exactly. So that's the deal. We're going to do that. I've been kind of researching it, and we'll see. We'll see. It's not expensive.
You know who has a Nissan Leaf? Is John Rothman.
I didn't know that. Wow. Well, we haven't even driven the car. We're going to drive the car right after the show today. So, pretty wild. But that's the big activity on the docket today. And excuse me for some coffee here.
Yeah. Little Coachella Valley there. Huh?
Coachella Valley coffee is a piece of heaven. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but now you can buy a car and you can just, the whole deal is made on the internet. It's so weird. And I know I'm old, and there are also older boys and girls watching some of them, but it used to be a dreaded process to go into. Some people look forward to it. There are some people who are really good at that negotiation thing. I'm not. So when somebody says, well, you know, the car is $23,000, I'm thinking, how am I going to come up with $23,000? And
Right.
others are going, no, man. You're not going to pay $23,000. Offer them $15,000. Like, you know, I'm not wired that way.
You're not a wheeler and a dealer?
Yeah,
No?
I'm just not wired as a negotiator. But the deal now is that dreaded experience where you have to somehow navigate and negotiate all of these different things, and you know they're getting you with the undercoating, and they're adding the wheel flaps, and you want the sports package. Well, that's they do this stuff. It's almost like a shell game. You know what I mean? Where you just can't follow it. That's all streamlined now by doing it all through the internet. So you go on any number of different sites to try to find the vehicle you want. And that's what we've done. So we'll see how it all works out. But that's the activity later today. So I will keep you posted. And a full photo spread will follow next week once we get the vehicle in the driveway. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
I do want to also mention, I've been putting this off, and I feel like we should do it now. I had a That's Rich, and we were going to do it 2 days ago. Then we were going to do it yesterday, and we just keep getting behind on it. I feel like while we're waiting for Bill to potentially show up, we ought to do it now. Tony, if you've got it standing by, I'd like to do it. This is That's Rich.
Who are they?
The top 1/10 of 1%.
What are they like?
These people are so posh and snobby, they're snotty.
That's Rich on the Mark Thompson Show.
You'll cut this part out, Tony, what I'm about to say, but you're supposed to follow the link that Kim sent you. I don't know. God almighty. I knew, jeez. You'll tell me when he gets here.
Yeah, working on it. If he manages to make it happen.
You may want to ping him now or something. I don't know. It's so straightforward.
Yeah.
He said, I'm standing by. It's like, oh, God, I don't know. What do I have to do? I just don't know.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
I do the thing. The guy gives me a hard time. You're not doing Jeopardy Masters. I say, hey, why don't you come on? You'll do 4 or 5 minutes on Jeopardy Masters. Okay, it's like, how can I be more accommodating than that? Then he says, great, I'll do it.
Why are you yelling?
I send him the link, and I don't know. All right. I am... he says the link didn't go anywhere. Oh, my God.
I sent it again. All right.
Can you... All right. Tony, I've got to break this out as a separate video. Drop the open again, if you would, please.
Who are they?
The top 1/10 of 1%.
What are they like?
These people are so posh and snobby, they're snotty.
That's Rich on the Mark Thompson Show.
Well, Jim Carrey is selling his house.
What?
And Jim Carrey's house, you'll be glad to know that this story can be related to me in some way, because I'm
kind of a big deal.
Did live right down the street from Jim Carrey when I lived in the house that burned. Jim Carrey lives in Brentwood, California, not the Brentwood in the Bay Area, the Brentwood in Southern California. And he lives in a massive mega mansion, but gorgeous from what I understand, and it's 2 lots put together. He bought a house and then bought the house and lot next to his house, so it's one immense property. And my house can fit into his foyer. Okay, that's how. My house can fit in on his front stoop. So he lived in because I want to make it clear, it's not like I lived I'm a mile further down the road. Anyway. Jim Carrey has been trying to sell this house, and he's now cut the price a 3rd time.
Oh.
30 years he's lived there.
Nobody wants his house?
After a year on the market, Jim Carrey, who's 62, put his 11,000 square foot LA estate on the market for $28.9 million. That was in February. But since then, he's had to lower the price from $28.9 million to $27 million. That was about 2 months ago. He lowered the price to $27 million. We're showing you pictures for those who are listening on the podcast. These are pictures of Jim Carrey's place. Now, you see how there's a tennis court there and also a swimming pool? Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so the
fancy.
closest I've come to being in that property was I played tennis back when I was playing tennis at a court right adjacent in the canyon, but it's still probably 100 feet from Jim Carrey's tennis court. But just like I told you the other day when I said I played alongside Dabney Coleman, who was in the next court, I was thinking, if that ball went all the way over to Jim Carrey's court, I'd now be talking to Jim Carrey and that's how things start. People are asked all the time, how did you meet? Well, it was weird. Tennis ball landed in the court. We started talking, and before you know it.
Randy wants to know how many bathrooms.
I don't have that information handy, but
That's a pretty nice movie room. Look at that. Wow.
Yeah. Art Deco theater, a gym, an office. The primary suite includes a wood panel, I should say, bathroom with a double vanity fireplace, a soaking tub, and privacy windows. Very beautiful. Natural light fills the home. But let me get back to the price. So, again, he started at $28.9 million in February, then dropped it to $27 million about 2 months ago. And now, actually it was cut a second time to $24 million. So it was 29, 27, 24. And this week, he marked it down even further.
What?
$21.9 million. So this property's been discounted $7 million over the course of the last year. There are, in answer to your question, 6 full bathrooms and 3 half baths. Wow. That's a lot of bathrooming.
That's a lot of bathrooms to clean. No thanks.
I'm guessing that if
like
you're
my
buying a property like this, there's probably someone
There's a
dedicated
maid.
to that task.
Yeah, there's a housekeeper. Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking it's probably not your responsibility.
We have processes and protocols and standards.
Exactly, and those processes involve somebody else doing it. He has last thing I'll say about the property, I just know this because I know people sort of in the neighborhood, or I know realtors who work around the neighborhood. He has like a Zen meditation garden there. He's really into, I think, meditation and that kind of quiet space.
Yeah.
And he has a waterfall pool and an outdoor treetop platform for yoga and meditation.
Oh.
So there's quite a lot going on there, and it can all be yours now. It was a good idea for you to wait, if that's what you were doing, for a cool $21.9 million, $7 million less than he originally stood it for.
Where is he want to move to a new state, or like what?
These are good questions. I do not know the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, is Bill here?
No.
Oh, there's no Bill? Okay.
Nope.
Well, in that case, I'm going to move on to this mansion, Jane Seymour's longtime manor outside of Bath, England. It's selling for €12.5 million. Someone will do the conversion on that. €12.5 million will quickly become something else. The actress owned this 400-year-old estate for decades, renting it out to a series of rock bands for recording. Radiohead and The Cure recorded there. Look at that place. Wow.
It's a it's a manor house from the 15 or 1600s.
Yeah, I don't know what manor house really means, but I know it sounds really good. What is a manor house? Is it like it's like
the Downton Abbey house. Like, it's the manor, and then there are a bunch of smaller. The village surrounds it.
I see. I do rather like that.
We have processes and protocols and standards.
So 12.5 million euro is 13.5 million dollars.
No, I thought it was more than that, but wow, okay. Anyway, it's a lot of money. Located on the outskirts of the city of Bath, the manor, known as St. Catherine's Court, was once owned by actress Jane Seymour. Now it is on the market. It dates back to at least 1591. And
I'll take my lunch in the aviary.
yes, it's quite lovely. Look at that. How much just for this room? They had 1 day of filming there, she said. You told Architectural Digest this back in the 90s. And they said, we love it. We want to buy it.
What?
Yeah. Oddly, Oprah, you are the other one who could pull that off.
And they used it for parties and events.
Of course. Yeah. Radiohead and The Cure both recording in that place. And New Order also recorded part of their album, Waiting for the Sirens, there. Pretty wild. So good luck. So she sold it, or she is selling for 12.5 million
So
euro?
I think she sold it to someone else, and now they are selling it.
I see. Okay, good. So it's Jane Seymour's longtime manor, but it was taken by somebody else, and now they've just sold it. And that, my friends, is That's Rich.
More on how the other half lives
These people aren't just rich, they're crazy rich.
next time on the Mark Thompson Show.
I don't know what is happening with Bill Mann, but
No, neither do I.
should we call him on the air?
We're at that point now. I'd say yes.
I sent him the link 3 times.
Yeah, I don't know. I knew that
said,
this was going to
"Click on
ruin. I knew
this
this was
link."
going to ruin the first part of the show. When I just knew it. I just knew this was going to turn. Here he is. All right, let's see if we can get him.
He's probably going to swear.
Hello.
Bill, you're on the air now with me, and I can't do the interview like this. But where the hell are you, dude?
Where am I? What?
Where are you, dude? We made this deal, and we sent you the link 3 times. Kim said. What's the problem?
I jumped out of the pool. I was waiting for a phone call as I got dressed, and then I saw that there was a link. And I think the last thing I told you is I'll wait for a phone call.
Oh, so you can't do the link? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I got into a link with a duck, and I waited. Nothing happened.
Link with a duck. What is that?
Yeah, there's a duck logo.
A duck. Oh, that's StreamYard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the logo.
Yeah, well, I got into that, and nothing happened.
Nothing happened, he said, Kim. Did you see him jump in? All right.
No.
Okay. Do you want to try to join us one more time, or do you want to just...
Sure.
Okay. Why don't you follow the link, please, to that duck logo, and then you click on it. It should say enter the studio, and that's how you do it.
That. I'll do it again.
Let's do it again. Thank you.
All right. Well, see if we can make it
God, dude. I just can't.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Hey, at least he had a nice...
And I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
I don't know.
At least he had a nice swim, you know?
There's a reason that this place is fun.
I'm not feeling the fun right now.
That's
I'm not
right,
feeling
Calvin.
it.
A little technical difficulties. That's right.
I'm not feeling it. I'm really not feeling it.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a duck logo. Okay, fine.
What, the
Click
duck?
it. By the way, somebody sent me, thank you, Trevor, who just posted on an email. Somebody sent me something for you, Trevor, a good drop. By the way, there is a great drop we're going to grab. It's coming up in a video piece that will run in the second hour of the show. But right now, I wanted to share with you. There he is. I hear him. Let's just put him on. All right.
He may not be there yet. I don't see a camera. Bill, you there?
I don't see a camera, but I mean, even if he's just, can he hear the audio, or can hear his audio?
No.
He's
Should
not
we put him
responding.
in?
Oh, he's
There he
Mike.
is.
Bill, you there? Bill?
Bill?
Hi, Bill.
Can you hear us?
I think we have a technical glitch going on.
This is...
Yeah.
Anyway, what
here
would
he
have
is.
been? Bill? Okay.
Well, Bill, talk when you can hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do this for 30 more seconds, and then
We could always do a little bit of news and then roll right back around to it.
Yeah, I think we should do that.
Okay. I like that.
Smash the like button, although I don't know why you would.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not smashing the like button, I'm doing the goddamn show.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
But I love you all for being here and putting up with some of our. And we sent them a link, and we can't fly somebody to your place, Bill, and put your little finger over on the thing you're supposed to hit. It's straightforward.
Why are you yelling?
You're a big brain guy. You're one of the smartest people I've ever met. And somehow you can't do this?
Well, sometimes technical stuff happens.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine wants President Biden on the ballot in the Buckeye State, and the Republican says a special state legislature session should be called to do it. The issue stems from a rule in the Ohio Revised Code that requires officials to certify ballots 90 days before elections, making the deadline August 7th this year. President Biden's nomination won't be official until the Democratic National Convention, August 19th. August 7th to August 19th. So now they have to convene a special legislative session to make it all happen. Former President Trump says, here's a surprise for you guys, he plans to have Nikki Haley on his team in some form.
Yeah.
That's what the presidential candidate said today or yesterday after a rally in the Bronx. Trump told News 12 New York he and Haley share many ideas in common. His comments come
Girl, you just knew.
I totally love her. She's an 8, I'd say. In the right light,
God.
maybe she's an 8.5.
They share the same values, all right. His comments come a day after Haley said she would vote for Trump this fall. Now we know why. Families of 4 Marines who died in an Osprey helicopter crash in California are suing Boeing, Rolls-Royce, and Bell Textron, the makers of the military aircraft. The lawsuit accuses the companies of negligence, says they failed to make truthful statements to the government and to service members about the design, the operation, and the safety of that V-22 Osprey aircraft. And new orders for long-lasting goods rose more than expected in April. Figures from the Commerce Department show durable goods orders rose 0.7% last month, slightly less than the increase for March. Transportation equipment led that gain. Excluding defense, new orders were virtually unchanged. Live Nation and Ticketmaster being hit with a consumer class action lawsuit. The lawsuit, filed yesterday in New York, seeks $5 billion in damages. This comes as the Department of Justice announced this week it is suing the events promoter and ticket seller over alleged antitrust law violations. The government's lawsuit aims to break up Live Nation and Ticketmaster. So there. This is an interesting story.
By the way, that's going to be a long process. I don't mean to, but
please.
The breaking up of Ticketmaster and Live Nation will be an extremely lengthy process. They have lawyers up the yin, and their right, the government is, to break them up. Just as I have pointed out, the government, the U.S. government, is suing Apple. They're suing Google in 2 different suits against Google. They're suing Amazon, all for monopolistic practices, and the government is right. All of those companies have immense reach, and they are behaving like monopolies, driving away competition, and they've become too big. Now, how you bust up Live Nation and Ticketmaster is yet another question. But saying even getting to the end of the trial, how they actually do it will be, because there will be this will be appealed, this will be taken to court, there'll be a suit. So I'm just anticipating that trial. At the end of it, even if the government prevails, how they actually do it will be very tricky, because they make a lot of money in certain parts of the company and other parts of the company don't make as much. So how do you break the company up? That will be a whole other question. But that they're a monopoly, or essentially a monopoly, and operate in monopolistic fashion, that is not an issue. It is 100% true.
Here in California, Governor Gavin Newsom is behind this new law to protect reproductive freedom. The governor is now allowing doctors in neighboring Arizona to come here and provide abortion care for their patients. He signed a bill a month after introducing it, giving access to pregnant women fleeing their state for treatment. Governor Newsom says he refuses to stand by as Arizona Republicans try to turn back the clock to 1864 to impose a near-total abortion ban. There is a sinking cruise ship leaking oil into a waterway here in California. Unfortunately, the days of the Love Boat seem to be gone.
Yeah, this was the boat that inspired the Love Boat, but now it's rusting out. And it was one of those things. It was one of those great TV stories. I saw it featured on CBS Sunday Morning, and there's a bunch of Art Deco chambers and rooms on board and on the various decks, but it looks like it's just too big
it's toast.
A rust job, yeah.
Yeah, the Coast Guard is now working to prevent a disaster in the California Delta. This is where this 293-foot-long cruise ship is sinking and leaking fuel and oil into the water. It's been docked near Stockton for years. They have this area where all the big ships go to die. That's where it is. A couple bought it in 2008 to restore it. They sold the ship last year. A hole was discovered Wednesday, and officials deployed booms yesterday trying to contain the leak. Most of the boat remains submerged. It's unclear if it can be salvaged or not. There it is, the boat that inspired the Love Boat, going down. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they do have to get it out of there because it's leaching all kinds of horrible things into the water.
What? I mean, you have to maintain these things or they're,
Well, the couple tried to rehab it and refurbish it, as you suggested, but I guess it was just too difficult for them. And as I say, it was like a romantic kind of dream that they had. It made a lot of news, but the grim reality is that it's just way expensive, and even
really
that couple,
expensive.
I think they had a couple of bucks, just couldn't afford it.
Remember we talked about the General Sherman, the tree?
Oh yeah,
they went out.
That it might have those. It might. We were worried that it might have those beetles.
The bark beetle, yeah. Well, all is well. The health check was passed this week. Researchers had to make sure that beetles weren't attacking the General Sherman in Sequoia National Park. Their inspection found only minor beetle activity and no real harm. The tree towers 275 feet. It's a big tourist attraction in Tulare County, especially in the summer. And some say it's a must-see and the most popular spot in the park. There it is, the General Sherman. Looks like all is well. It passed its health check. Its appointment went very well. So there you go.
I remember I was saying to you the other day, I mean, it'd just be a weird thing that it's 200 years old, but that, no beetle infestation has existed in that 200 years that it's been able to weather. And yet that was the concern, that somehow it would be taken down by this latest infestation. But I'm so glad it's okay.
Well, we have in the California area the last weekend to hit the slopes. 2 ski resorts are staying open through Memorial Day thanks to winter storms extending the season.
Wow.
Most resorts in the Lake Tahoe area closed in April, but Palisades Tahoe has been running lifts thanks to more than 400 inches of snowfall. Mammoth Mountain Ski Area in Mono County got 367 inches. Skiers, though, should prepare for traffic because travel is expected to hit record levels on this Memorial Day weekend. You can go skiing on Memorial Day weekend. Whoever would have thought of such a thing? It's just this story that, this is Carlo Accusi. Carlo was an Italian teenager and a computer prodigy. Carlo Acutis, they called him God's influencer. He is now set to become the Catholic Church's first millennial saint.
Wow.
Yeah, Pope Francis recognized a second miracle attributed to Acutis. He was a gamer and a computer programmer, and he died from leukemia. He had used his tech skills when he was still with us to spread the message of the Catholic faith. He created a website to document miracles. His parents weren't Catholic. His nanny was Catholic and had raised him, alongside his parents. So that's how he was kind of indoctrinated into the Catholic faith.
Wow.
And
it was great. I loved it.
Okay,
used his computer skills to spread the word. And so now he may become the first millennial saint. St.
Jeez.
Carlos Acutis. Mm-hmm.
That saint stuff can be a little, can be a little borderline sometimes.
Well,
But that sweet soul that was robbed of his life, that he passed away, as a youth.
Yeah.
He's deserving certainly of some kind of memorialization, which I guess is there in sainthood.
Well, this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. If you aren't going skiing this Memorial Day weekend, go on over to Tenuta Vineyards because they've got live music. Quite a party over there at the winery in Livermore. Tenuta Vineyards, they have 29 wine choices. They've got 17 reds. They've got 12 whites. Among the choices, the Why Are You Yelling Red Blend.
Oh, yeah.
The Hey, Which One of You is Mark Thompson Pinot Grigio.
Sure.
It's all good. So check it out at the website, tenutawinery.com. And then if you decide you want to order something, you get 10% off of
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
And if you order a case, 20% off. Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Right.
And if you would like the discount, you have to email Rich or call him and say, smash it with your iron rod.
Smash it that's the phrase that pays, rod. Is that right?
That's right. The phone number.
That's the phrase that pays, everybody. Smash with your iron rod.
925-699-4576, the phone number, or the email address, rich@tenuta, Tenuta vineyard.com. The wine is amazing. And again, the Memorial Day event with the music, the live music is going to be great. I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Mark Thompson Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is the Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Thank you for being here. It's our Big Friday show. We've done a lot. The first half hour, we hit you with some That's Rich. We reviewed kind of a snapshot, a bit of the New York visit that Donald Trump had yesterday. Of course, he's in New York, so, that's where his trial is. He thought, hey, it's time for me to mix it up with the crowd. So he held his little thing, and we'll give you a full drill down on that after the top of the hour. We grumbled about the fact that we couldn't get Bill Mann on the line. He was supposed to give us an update on Jeopardy Masters, but that just didn't work out. Jeopardy Masters, though, a terrific culmination of what was a tournament involving smart people going at it, and there they are. I mean, they're all so gifted, but wow, when you get them all on the same stage, it was these three who were in the actual final, and they accumulate points, and they play at the top of the game. I mean, these three, it was very tough to handicap it, although it did look like the lady on the left who you were seeing. It's Victoria. How does she say her last name? Gross, right? She really seemed dominant, but, you think you're going to see someone prevail and then somebody else jumps ahead, like Holzhauer, who was brilliant as well. I mean, he's the one in the middle. And the surprises, the invite, I thought, was given by producers to Amy Snyder. She didn't really have too great a showing. But again, you can say that, but, it's as though you don't have as great a showing on the basketball court against the Michael Jordans that you're up against. Mm-hmm. So the winner, again, I'm spoiler alert if you need it, Victoria Gross had been on Jeopardy back in 2005, hadn't been on since. Then she played this Jeopardy Masters, and she is something of a game show ninja. She shows up on game shows around the world, and she is on ABC's The Chase. And it's weird, though, that a 20-year layoff from Jeopardy is then greeted by the kind of dominance that she showed and the victory that she ultimately walked away with in this Jeopardy Masters. Victoria Gross, amazing show. And I don't know if there she is, hoisting the trophy.
Her Jeopardy prowess was not an anomaly.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's funny because she, she comes in. There's nothing about her that is showy, or actually none of them except Holzhauer, I guess, in his own little way. But he's not. He's sort of more, mirthful about how showy he is. Mm-hmm. But I was just trying to see if anybody else had seen it. Hadn't watched Jeopardy for years, says Karen, but caught some of it during the Masters. Thanks for spoiling the results. Yes, this is what I knew I would get. I always get it. It's been a day and a half, so I kind of think like if you're on the internet and you don't know the results yet, I mean, I'm sorry, man. I mean, James is sarcastically cocky. That's a great way to put it, Julie. Thank you. I actually wasn't going to do the story for Beth, who says, thanks for spoiling the results. I wasn't going to do it for just this reason. I get blowback from the audience. I can't show any clips because I'll get struck. It's like, yet another headache. But Bill Mann was all over me like, God, dude, I can't believe you didn't even mention Jeopardy Masters. So I said, great, Bill, come on and do it. And, of course, we had the problems with Bill Mann, and so we are where we are. Thank you, Beth, for being the token angry person about the spoiler. And let's move on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Again, at some point, if you're participating in life, it's out there. So now, before I go any further, do we have anything else I have to attend to? Is there anybody else's life that I can ruin in this moment with a spoiler or with a link that doesn't work for them? Is there anything else?
I think we should bring a little joy to the show. How about this?
I hate that idea normally,
no, it's
but
good. Gail, look at what she's done here.
Oh, Gail. Now that's
cheer.
different.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer, Gail.
Big shout out.
TGIF and a happy Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy all.
Yeah, that's nice. Right?
That's very nice. And a $20 super sticker and super chat.
Big shout out.
I really do appreciate it. Big shout out indeed. Gail is HOF. And Buck Meadows, buy a real car, he says. Come on with that.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. $5 super chat. Candace Worthman with a $10 super sticker. What up, Candace?
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Thank you. You're right. It has put me in a...
Yeah.
There's nothing like a little bit of support for the show to put me in a better head. Thank you. Yes.
I'm just trying to bring the little love to you, Mark.
Thank you, Kim. You're
having
nothing
a
if not supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also got this message from John earlier when you were talking about the Trump rally.
Mm-hmm.
He says, just looking at the aerial pictures of Trump's rally where his people claimed 25,000 showed up, but police and others are saying it looked like only about 800 people. So,
yeah. Well, it's Trump arithmetic. He's all about the message and the announcement. He's not really about the... Robert Hazelton wrote me a note over the weekend. Our email address. Wes, thank you for the $5 super sticker.
Big shout out.
Appreciate that, Wes Theory. Wes is always there.
Yep.
Hey, Mark, says Robert, you should consider capturing the clip of AOC's response to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, girl, oh, baby girl, don't even play.
That's right.
That is a great thought, Robert Hazelton. He says that should be a new drop on the show. I totally agree. Tony, maybe we can do that after the show. I'll grab it. Oh, baby girl, don't even play. So thank you for catching that. I did catch what will be a great drop, and it'll run in a package that will have a video package after the top of the hour. I'll run it, Michael Shure, and I think you'll agree with me that it'll be good. But now, with that out of the way, and with your generosity acknowledged, thank you everybody who has supported the show with super stickers, super chats. Also have some great Patreon and PayPal supporters. We show them at the end of every show, and we acknowledge you because you make this show happen. So thank you.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Let's do it. He has curated this from London. Albert is in London, and he has curated another edition of Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
I spotted this story this week. I wanted to do it. It was all I could do to resist doing it sooner. And then several of you sent the story also. And fortunately, Albert has included it as the lead story in Friday Fabulous Florida this week. A Central Florida priest bites a woman after denying her communion. It happened in the house of the Lord.
What is wrong with
Kim.
people?
Yeah. Well, the Lord works in mysterious ways, Kim. Let's hear the entire...
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Well, let's find out how unhappy
God
he
told
is.
me to bite her? I mean, what?
Well, here's what happened. There was an argument, obviously, but it started when she wanted communion.
Is she Catholic? Because you can't have communion unless you're Catholic, right?
Oh, is that right? I don't know. Is that right? I don't know the bylaws.
You can't.
No. You're not allowed to take communion unless you're Catholic? Huh. Anyway, the Kim's dropped out, but
They don't give it to just anyone. Yeah.
Okay. He wouldn't give me the cookie, she says. I don't know if it was the way I was dressed or if it was, something else. But she was denied communion. He tried to, and then, this is according to a witness, that the woman was singled out because she was dressed in some way that the witness feels the priest may not have welcomed.
Was she in a slutty dress or something? Or
well, here's it. Because of her
church?
sexuality and attire is what it says.
Yeah.
So this is what a witness says. He tried to forcefully shove it in her mouth. She backed up. She said, no, don't do that. And she tried to get it. And that is when he went crazy.
Wow.
The priest says that the woman first came to the 10 o'clock mass, but didn't seem to know the process of receiving communion. So he denied her the bread wafer. Then the woman came back to another service and tried again, but this time the priest said that the confrontation happened when she tried to grab the wafer out of his hand.
She didn't want him to place it on her tongue. That's how they do it, I think.
He admitted to biting the woman and told the cops that he was protecting the wafer because it is considered the body of Christ. I'm not judging you, he said. I'm asking you, did you confess after Mass? If you did not confess, I cannot give you communion. I bid her, he said. I'm not denying that. I am defending myself and the sacrament. The priest also told officers that he didn't know the woman or what her sexual orientation is. He doesn't care about that. He said, I don't judge nobody.
Oh, God.
That's the priest
That's
speaking.
what the priest said?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Anyway, Father Rodriguez's Holy Communion line was resumed, but I guess Father Rodriguez has been getting some unwanted publicity. It is good to know that he's guarding that body of the Lord, as represented by the wafers.
Well, our Catholics in the crowd say it can be placed in your hands. It doesn't have to be placed on your tongue. So,
well, don't tell me. Tell Father Rodriguez. He has his own.
He bit a parishioner.
Here's what happened.
Oh, wow.
Tony's got the video. You're seeing it now. I mean, it's pretty crazy. There's a real throwdown. Yeah,
man.
I am really. I hate to see that in the house of the Lord.
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas.
Well,
how incredibly undignified.
Yes.
I don't think God's happy.
Well, as noted, probably not. I'm guessing if God's there, God's probably not happy anyway. So this is probably not the thing that pushed him over the edge. Biter, that is not aligned with the Ten Commandments. No, it is not, Gordon. That's a good point. Thank you for that.
Florida man. Yeah.
We're moving on, but if you want to ruminate in the communion, you can skip back, and we have the video there for you. A Florida man chugs beer in front of cops after throwing bottles off a Margaritaville balcony.
That sounds Florida. Bring it on.
Yes, that is pretty strong. And I'm guessing that
it was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Well, I don't know if he apologized. He was arrested. The Margaritaville Resort in Fort Myers was the place this whole thing happened. He was throwing beer bottles off a fourth-floor balcony.
Sir, you've had too much to drink.
According to the sheriff's office, 23-year-old Connor Thurman, whose room was located just above the hotel's valet parking area, threw a beer bottle from his balcony around 1:30 in the morning. When they tried to knock on his door, a security guard had to yell to him, who was sitting on the balcony. He was sitting on the balcony. They had to yell to him to answer the door. When he eventually answered, he yelled, "What?" And he had a Corona beer bottle removed from his hand and placed on the ground by a deputy. He was then told to pack up his things and leave the resort, but he wouldn't. Instead, he argued with law enforcement. And then he grabbed an open beer bottle and tried to chug the rest of the bottle.
Right in front of the cop.
And we're showing you the entire exchange. You can see him putting on his best chug.
At least I'm going to have some beer before you take me off, you know?
Deputy tried to, again, remove the bottle from his grip. He resisted, and eventually deputies said that he let the bottle go, and he was detained.
Yeah.
He was arrested on charges of trespassing in the structure and a bunch of other stuff. And apparently he was unruly in the patrol car on the ride to jail. So there was that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see he wasn't in any mood to really be going anywhere.
Look what cops have to deal with, these crazy people.
God. I agree. It's not a good job, you know. A Florida man wearing family first, money second. He's wearing that on his shirt. He's accused of scamming elderly women. So much for family first and money second.
I mean, if you saw that guy, would you think, let me give you my jewelry? No.
Well, here is the question. Yeah. On the Mark Thompson show booking photo meter, where would you put it?
That's a pretty good. That's pretty good.
Exactly. It's a good picture.
I mean, is that a like one of those capes you wear while you're getting your hair cut? What's happening? I don't know. I'm going to give him a 7.9.
Wow. 7.9. That's maybe our most exacting. Yeah, 7.9. Somebody had sent me a note saying before we do the booking meter scale, we should not first tell everyone what they're being booked on. But that's part of it. Like, you have to put that aside, what they're being booked on. You're just evaluating the photo. So, Robert Lahori, 59 years old, arrested and charged with scheming to defraud under false pretenses after this incident at the grocery store. The grocery store is there on Belterry Parkway in Palm Coast. His partner, Megan Steele, was arrested also for scheming to defraud under false pretenses. They put on medical face masks, the two of them, Lahori and Steele. They entered the Publix and followed an elderly woman around the store for about 5 minutes. Steele distracted the woman by asking her for help reading a label. Lahori, wearing a white shirt that said "Family First, Money Second," allegedly grabbed her wallet from her purse in the shopping cart. When she turned to help her, she heard the magnet pop on her purse that was seated in the top portion of her cart. The woman immediately turned around and noticed her $150 wallet was missing. She said that she has multiple wallets in her purse and learned that the one that the subjects took did not contain any credit cards. It's so smart to have multiple wallets, I guess. Inside the wallet was a document with her son and late husband's Social Security numbers, though, and her insurance cards, and $25 in cash. So Lahori and Steele, the two that were up to the scheming, left the Publix in a minivan, and they were fleeing from deputies on Interstate 95 and crashed into 3 patrol vehicles. So this thing turned pretty heated and dramatic. A search warrant of the minivan yielded discovery of a gun, $20,000 to $30,000 in gift cards, multiple forms of ID, and credit cards. Lahori was arrested, charged with multiple counts of possession of stolen stuff, credit cards and debit cards, aggravated battery on an officer. And Steele was arrested that day as well on a lot of that same stuff. Possession of a firearm by convicted felon, fraudulent use of a credit card. Now, we do have a booking photo of her, too. Please, Tony, if you would, be so kind. Her booking photo, she's also in that same smock type thing. No, can't rally it. No. It's further down the story if you just scroll down. Yeah, there she is. And what about her? Kim, you gave 7.9 to her partner.
He had this look to him where he had the eyebrows going up. He looked criminalistic. He's kind of has the steely look on his face.
It's true. You're right.
She's got the neck tattoo, which, doesn't do her any favors. But other than that, I don't know. She's a nice looking lady. I'll give her a 5.
Oh, I was going to give her a 7, but all right. Anyway, the two have a lot of prison time ahead of them.
Yeah.
A Florida man on the run from cops for 2 months is found. He's hiding in a clothes dryer when the cops find him.
There must have been a big one. How did he get in there?
Yeah, we have a picture of it now. I mean, that's why he is...
You really have to fold yourself up.
Someone who has been able to elude law enforcement for so long because he can fit into tight spots. Now, this is not technically a booking photo. This is a perp walk photo. So it wouldn't fall into the booking photo bylaws, which are quite strict about when we can evaluate. And we can only evaluate during a booking photo. So there will be no numeric assignment, no value placed on this perp walk. But there it is if you want to see him. Again, 2 months on the run, he's found hiding in a clothes dryer. He's 31-year-old David Jerome Jackson, wanted on charges of firing a gun into a dwelling, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, damage to property, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He was discovered because law enforcement was given a tip. Deputies executed the search warrant, entered the home to look for him. After extensive search, deputies entered the laundry room, discovered Jackson folded up inside a remarkably small dryer and drum. That's a quote. That just looks
painful.
You know what's more painful?
Jail.
5 to 7 in prison. Yeah.
He really didn't want to go.
Yeah. He was pulled from the dryer one limb at a time as he clung to his tumble-ready hideout, the sheriff said. Outside the dryer, deputies removed 3 dryer sheets from him, 2 mismatched socks, and a crumpled-up tissue from his surprisingly wrinkled Star Wars shirt. Wow.
He's wearing a Star Wars shirt? Because I was kind of thinking that he had Princess Leia buns.
You're right. He has a Princess Leia-esque hairstyle going. Very good spotting of that. Well, good luck with your lightsaber behind bars. An alligator placed under arrest at a 104-year-old Florida woman's home. It's a 5-foot alligator placed, quote, under arrest at the home of a 104-year-old Florida woman. She complained about the animal's presence on the property. She called the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. And they showed up, and you can see, I mean, it's not it's kind of a small creature, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure its teeth are still quite sharp.
Yeah, although, I mean, I don't think, yes, you don't want him biting on you, but it seems like a manageable situation. We can't cuff him, one of the officers said, but you're under arrest. You've got to leave the grandma alone. We're going to take you downtown. Well, I hope they relocate him to someplace okay. And finally, a 12-foot airman alligator is rescued, 12 feet.
Wow.
Turned up at a Florida air base twice. A 12-foot, 4-inch gator wandering onto MacDill Air Force Base. 2 Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission officers were seen putting ropes around the alligator's body and releasing him into the Hillsborough River, located just a few miles north of the airbase. You can see the pictures there.
Huge alligator.
That is a massive gator.
I mean, look at that thing. Wow.
Yeah.
I think the Air Force guys have been feeding him. out there at the McDonald's.
He probably eats what he wants to because looks like a pretty healthy creature.
He's humongous.
Alligator courtship begins in early April. They begin mating in May or June. So the reemergence of gator stories is something that we're going to get used to here. But that is definitely one of the bigger gators you'll ever see featured.
He's a monster.
And with that, that's Friday Fabulous Florida for today. Oh.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Oh, my God. I screwed that up. We got to pick a favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
My bad. I'm sorry.
All right. Here we go. We're going to do some clips on these videos. We'll cut that out. We'll run it again or whatever. But we are required, the bylaws of the show, I wouldn't be able to continue with the show if we don't pick a favorite. So here they are again, just to remind you, the Central Florida priest who bites the woman after denying her communion, the Florida man who chugs the beer in front of the cops after throwing bottles off of his balcony there at the Hotel Margaritaville Resort, the Florida man wearing family first, money second, accused of scamming the elderly woman along with his accomplice, a Florida man on the run from the cops for 2 months found hiding in the clothes dryer, the alligator placed under arrest after a 104-year-old Florida woman complained that the gator wouldn't go away, and a 12-foot airman alligator rescued after turning up at the Florida Air Base twice. What would be your favorite, Kim, please?
You know, I agree with Karen. That giant gator was really impressive and very Florida. But I kind of, there's so many good stories today. A biting priest? But the guy at the Margaritaville guy,
yeah,
I guess
tough.
I'll go
Kim,
with I'll go with the biting priest. I'm going to go with the priest.
Biting priest is the. How about you, Tony? What was your favorite, please?
Oh, beer me all the way, with the added Margaritaville. Come on, it's like double.
Beer, chugging the beer in front of the cop, and it is tough.
A lot of votes for Dryer Guy.
Dryer Guy's pretty strong, man. Man, that priest biting the woman after denying her communion, that priest sounds like he's no day at the beach.
I know.
I'll go with Dryer Guy just to please the crowd. Yeah. That's Friday Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It is Friday. We are excited. I am always excited to talk to this guy, bringing coherence to an incoherent world. He has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. He is Michael Shure, everybody. Hi, Michael.
Bringing coherence to an incoherent world. That's a good one. That's a new one.
Yeah. That's from the heart, Michael. I don't plan this, don't script it out. It's just whatever the moment moves me to say.
Sure,
I say it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good one. Thank you.
Now, I have much to get to. I'll get to the Trump rally in New York in a second. I also, though, want to bring your attention to something else that happened this week, and that is yet another flag. I guess there are a lot of flags and flag poles at the Alito house.
Yeah.
They flew a flag that is, again, it's a flag that has been co-opted, perhaps, but it's flying. That flag is not at the Alito house. That's at Leonard Leo's house, who's head of the Federalist Society. You can put it back up there, but I just wanted to distinguish it. It's the same flag, but it's a different house, okay? Alito flew that same flag at his beach house. The first flag was the upside-down flag that he was flying, the distress sign, right after the J6 incident and the 2020 election. This is the Alito house, his beach house, and that is the flag associated with now insurrection, with any number of things that represent essentially a I don't know, designs on regaining power in Washington.
Well, it's the appeal to heaven flag, and what they're saying is we're appealing to heaven, we're appealing to God to step in and make Donald Trump president again in 2024.
So, the first one was my wife did it. There's been no comment on this one. But what concerns me is, when we touched on it last time, Michael, but just give me another little thought on this. You've got someone who, apart from the president, these Supreme Court justices may have more power than any other legislator or any other person in any position in this country. And this is the kind of bias there is?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's... Look, I was more excusing of it and remain so when it's his wife. I mean, she should have the wherewithal to know that she's married to a Supreme Court justice, and she doesn't have to not harbor the opinion she harbors. She's free to do that. But to do this, to fly these flags above their homes, it stands opposed to his impartiality, or presumed impartiality as a justice of the Supreme Court. And, in a way, it furthers the argument. So the good side of it, if you're upset with this, is that it furthers the argument that he should be recused from cases related to January 6th and 2020, because it's not just that his wife flew a flag one day. There seems to be a both thematic and a pattern of hanging these, and they carry a theme. So I more than just when there was one flag, I find it now to be grounds to look further into this. The problem is who polices the Supreme Court? Well, the Supreme Court polices the Supreme Court, and that's what makes it difficult. And and Republicans on Capitol Hill, I think it was John Cornyn, the senator from Texas, who did the turnabout. He said, I don't see them going after Kagan and Sotomayor or other liberal justices. They just have something in for the GOP appointed ones. And then he brought up Clarence Thomas and his confirmation hearings. Those confirmation hearings were in 1991 or 1990. I mean, so this is a long time ago, and it has nothing to... Sotomayor and Kagan aren't flying flags over their house, as far as I know. And if they were, that would be reprehensible too.
Yeah. And now to what the Democrats and those who, it should be bipartisan. I mean, you should at least have the appearance of a lack of bias on the high court. Right. But what can be done? I mean, I always feel as though, as you've said, there's nothing that can be done from a substantive standpoint because you really only have the court itself policing itself. But you could certainly do something and keep the media attention on this. I mean, the court has become so powerful. Why not even begin, Senate Judiciary hearings on this or something, Michael, to begin to... Yeah, go ahead.
You could do that. And the question is, how much attention will this draw? How many people get upset about this? How many people know about this? How inside Washington is this in a way? Look, there are reasons to do exactly what you just said and to call their attention to this. Their biggest argument right now and their biggest fight is to stop, on the Democratic side, is to stop Donald Trump from becoming president. This doesn't really do anything. And so it's not surprising to me that it's not occupying a great deal of their time. They have wars in Israel and Ukraine in their peripheral vision, and they have an election in 2024, which is what they're looking at straight ahead. Senators who would preside over a Judiciary Committee are trying to make sure that Democrats remain in power in the Senate, which is in doubt. So I think that they juggle a lot. This doesn't seem like it's something they want to take up, but it is something that John Roberts could take up, the Chief Justice. It's something that Justice Alito could take up and respond to and recuse himself. I don't think anyone expects that.
That actually does, though, put it in the pure political context that it probably on some level is being calculated as. And that makes sense. So then I turn to some of these other issues that are related to Trump and the next election. I mean, when I see Marco Rubio, for example, going on Face the Nation or whatever it was, maybe it was this week, one of those Sunday shows, saying that he won't commit to accepting the results of the next election, and he's not alone. I mean, you've got these this GOP leadership, from Mike Johnson on down, that seems to be falling in line with Trump. They show up at his trial, and they wear the unis, and now they are even singing from the same hymnal when it comes to accepting the results of the next election. Have we lost our minds here? What's going on?
I think that this is we just talked about a political year. This is kind of what happens in a political year, right? I mean, there's an audition process going on. Marco Rubio probably wants to be on the ticket. He probably wants to run with Donald Trump. If that is the case, then he's going to, hum that same tune. And I'm not defending it. It's just, I'm saying don't be surprised by it and don't be moved by it necessarily, because this is the kind of exercise that happens. You want to side with the person that you want to be on a ticket with, if that's what your goal is. And that's clearly something Marco Rubio wants. It's been floated. People have talked about it. They're talking about it now with Tom Cotton in Arkansas, another senator, a very conservative senator, but somebody who was not accepting of the results in 2020 and wanted to overturn the election. So you're seeing I shouldn't say overturn, but did not want to accept the results and wanted to look further. But so this is what you see. You see an adherence to what we know is Trump doctrine from people who want to be the name next to Trump on those bumper stickers this year. So I'm not surprised by it.
So in that spirit, I turned to Nikki Haley, somebody who, called Trump an agent of chaos. And, she grilled him. She put him on the rotisserie, at least on the stump. And she even got 20% of the vote in places like Indiana long after she had pulled out of the race. Now she's done an about face, and she says she's going to vote for Trump. And I'm wondering, is that her audition for VP, or how do you see that?
I don't think at all. I don't think that. I think that's Nikki Haley playing smart GOP politics, knowing that if she wants to face voters in 2027 and 2028 for president the next time, she does not want to answer the question, why did you say you weren't voting for Trump? Why did you say that you voted for Biden? She's going to be before Republican voters, most likely in Iowa and New Hampshire again the next time around. And I think that she would be a fool not to say she was voting for Donald Trump. This wasn't a full-throated endorsement. This wasn't I want to be vice president, or I'm campaigning with him every day for the rest of the year. No, this was saying, who are you going to vote for? Are you going to vote for Donald Trump? Yeah, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. I'm a Republican. And, oh, by the way, I'm saying this under my breath, I want to be president still, and I'm going to run in 2028, and I don't want you to hate me for voting for Biden.
Well, that makes sense also. And you, as long as we're talking vice president, feel who leads that sweepstakes?
It's Scott. I'm terrible at this because I don't spend a great deal of time worried about it, even after they're named. But I'd have to think that Donald Trump, and we know what he wants out of the candidate. He wants someone who's not going to overshadow him. He wants somebody who is going to be loyal to him. And if they're not loyal, they will be cast aside in the way Mike Pence was even 2 weeks before his term was up. So I think that by having, there's another factor too, is that when Donald Trump, if he were to win, he doesn't want MAGA to leave the White House with him. He wants somebody who can carry that torch forward. And in order to do that, you have to find somebody who is a zealot in a way and believes in this part of it, but is also can carry some weight in Washington. I don't think that Marco Rubio will be on the ticket. I could see someone like Tom Cotton more, someone who's very conservative, who also is not necessarily telegenic and going to be a scene stealer for Donald Trump in Florida, a state where he lives, and other places. So, I mean, do I think Tom Cotton? Sure, I think Tom Cotton. I had said Kristi Noem for a long time. I think she's taken herself out of the running with the book that she'd written. But I think he's going to go for a senator. I don't think he's going to go for a member of Congress.
Cotton's a great pick based on the profile that you kind of lay out. And again, on Nikki Haley, teacher Lori is, of course, right. Again, she said she did not endorse and did not ask her supporters to vote for him. No, she said she was going to vote for him. Okay, so I get it. I think most people.
I misspoke if I said that she endorsed it.
No, you didn't. Lori is the police on the show, and it's good to have a cop.
Well, Lori's right. I mean, that's what this was. And by the way, very smart politics. If she wants to be president, and I was advising her, and I was a Republican advisor, I'd say, Governor, you got to go out and say you're going to vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, that's all.
And I have to say the distinction is an important one. I think voters don't pick up on the distinction, but I think that Lori is right. Not endorsing is a distinction that's important, but I think voters don't pick up on it.
I don't think they pick up, but they also don't pick up on any of this. Right. I mean,
of course.
Think that anybody is going to be moved by Nikki Haley saying I'm voting for Donald Trump, or even her endorsement. I mean, it's not like she has this groundswell of people. In the states where her endorsement would hurt or help, Donald Trump is going to win those states regardless. So again, I think anything Haley says does not impact this. If I'm wrong and she's named running mate, then obviously that changes a little bit. But then of course she's going to vote for him.
Now, quickly, I know you don't like the polls this early, but the polls have shown Trump with an edge for about 8 straight months. The latest, though, is fascinating because it looks as though, as is just suggested here in the New York Times, and there's been a lot of polling that has been pretty thorough in the New York Times, but you could suggest, as Michael has here in this forum before, that it's early and polls can be deceiving, et cetera, especially this early in the game. But we're getting now to times when maybe you can tell me whether or not they become more relevant. Anyway, the lead that Trump has, the one to which I've just referred over the last 8 months, is built on gains among voters who really aren't paying close attention to politics, it's suggested here, who don't follow traditional news and who don't regularly vote. Essentially, disengaged voters who aren't really connected to what's going on in terms of policy, in terms of events. They are driving poll numbers. So if you look at that as a real data point, the last 3 New York Times Siena National polls among those who voted in the 2020 election has really pointed to better news, perhaps, or a more fragile lead that Trump may have than is being represented by 8 months of polling, driven often by these people who are less engaged voters. Can you comment?
Yeah, I think when you look at that pool, it's interesting. Yes, it's interesting. It's interesting that you would, poll people who don't vote regularly, because why would you do that? Like, would you want to know what, would you want to go on Yelp and get the review of the diner from somebody who hadn't eaten there? No. But there, it does show that we're all aware, even most Americans are aware that there's an election going on and who's running, whether or not they participate. And so it gets you a little sort of sense of the zeitgeist that's out there right now, is that casual voters think that it's time for a change, or people who are less invested in it might think it's time for a change or to go back to Trump. But I don't think it impacts where things stand in this race right now. I guess you could look at it and distill it the way you did, Mark, as pretty good news for Biden, because in terms of people who have their minds made up and will be voting and are regular voters and voted in 2020, the president might be doing a little better. But, ask me in September.
The other thing that is sort of wild has to do, I think it's all messaging. I talked, ever since we've been on the air, I talk about messaging. I think it's critical. I think that, honestly, the GOP is helped enormously in the messaging world by a flank, really, of GOP-leaning or truly in the tank right-wing media sources, from Fox News to OAN to what is a huge number of right-wing talk radio stations that blanket the country. And we don't even, you don't see them or hear them if you don't live in those parts of the country, but they're out there as well. Anyway,
what they're good at too, Mark, is hardening support, right? It's not that they're winning new people over. I don't think a lot of people who don't have those tendencies listen to that radio. But it hardens the support, and the Democrats don't have that kind of an apparatus. I mean, they have black churches, they have unions, they have special interest groups, but they don't have that kind of an apparatus, and that's important.
There's new Harris polling. Roughly half of the respondents believe that unemployment, which is close to a 50-year low unemployment, is at a 50-year high. They also believe that stock prices, which have been hitting records and are reported everywhere all the time as hitting records, have been falling. So you have a total disconnect between the reality of what's going on and their perception of things. Right. And this is why I think, sadly, people respond viscerally to this strong, smack-talking guy who's making the crap up. He's the one who's saying this stuff.
Right, of course. And they don't have local newspapers anymore to tell them otherwise. And I think it's a bit, it's not a throwaway line. Like, it's true. It's those people in small town America and other places in America, small cities, large cities, who read local newspapers because they were there. They're not there anymore to give that reporting. And they were the trusted vehicles of news, unlike the national papers like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, and to some lesser extent the Washington Post. I think that matters hugely in terms of how people are getting their facts and what they're deciding are facts in the first place.
I wanted to share one more little blip here that surprised me. I'm sure you're aware of it, but let me just share it nonetheless with many people in the audience who might be surprised as I was. There's a lot more churn in the electorate than people realize. Even if the turnout stays the same, millions of prior voters will stay home and be replaced by millions who stayed home last time. Historically, around 25% of presidential election voters do not have a record of voting in the previous presidential election. This is partly because of newly registered voters who usually vote in the next election and who have previously voted in a different state, let's say. But it's also because around 30% to 40% of previous registrants who skipped the last election ultimately show up for the next election. So the last thing I'll say is there are good reasons to expect fewer voters in 2024 than in recent cycles. As the 2020 election was the highest turnout election in a century, you'd expect there to be fewer. But if you think that means that there won't be as many new voters, you're already wrong. In fact, 10% of registered 2020 non-voters already turned out and voted in the relatively low turnout 2022 midterms. So this churn that they're talking about is already at work.
Yeah, I mean, it's a work. I don't know enough about it to really speak to it, and that how common or uncommon it is, and how this happens in every election. Why should it impact this one any more than the next? I just don't know the answer to that, but it is certainly interesting. And I think also when you have an election that doesn't seem to be exciting for most Americans, and that's the job of the president, to try and get people excited over the next 6 months, 5 months. I think that probably factors into low turnout as well. Just it's not a it's we did this before, we've had this again, and so why are we so excited about this? But that's that's why the campaigns will go into full throttle after Labor Day, and then you'll start seeing a little more of this.
The court cases with Donald Trump, they don't really hurt him at all. They don't really affect him. He's
well, I mean, if you're going to go off the polls that I don't like talking about, there was a poll that showed that they did, but I don't understand how they can quantify that because he hasn't been convicted or acquitted yet. And so, but there was a poll that showed that if he were convicted, that he drops, I looked like 4 or 5 points. I didn't really read into it very deeply, but that poll came out today or yesterday. So.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that the legal experts we've had pass through this show feel as though he likely will be convicted, but you never know what a jury is going to do. And
it's also May. It's also May, and you have to remember that he'll be convicted or acquitted in May or maybe early June, right? Depending on what happens. It may be a hung jury. In late October, this is not what people are going to be thinking about. They're not. There may be other cases. There may be that we may still be talking about his legal problems, but the die will have been cast, and that's not what people are going to be voting on. There's going to be something else that happens too that we don't even know exists right now, whether it's like he had a tape last time, whether something happens with Biden, whether the conventions yield something surprising. So I wouldn't put too much heat. I mean, it's nice to talk about, it's sexy to talk about because it's now, and let's talk about now. We don't have November yet or October, but again, you have to appreciate that time gap in politics, especially now.
Michael, we will talk about campus unrest with you next time and how that may affect voters and the general conversation. It's interesting. I see it in the media a lot, but I want to just spend the last second. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a big deal when I say I see it in the media a lot. I'm just curious how it's landing with voters. Trump's latest New York thing, Tony, do you have it? Can we just play it quickly for Michael and then I'll let him go? Because it was as though he was campaigning for mayor. It was really a weird appearance, They curated this crowd around him, Michael, and then this, the crowd that he sees, there's never been as big a crowd as this. This is amazing.
Anyone of color,
Do you have it? Can you put it up there, Tony, so we can see it?
this community is a crook, a liar, and a cheat, and he tries to make money off people, and that's what he's doing right now.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you very much. This is some turnout.
Presidential candidate Donald Trump came to the South Bronx today to speak to some supporters and to a fair amount of empty space in Crotona Park. He was as bellicose as you'd expect.
Our black population and our Hispanic population who are losing their jobs, losing their housing, losing everything they can lose.
But Trump is a billionaire, and the South Bronx doesn't house any billionaires. Politically, Trump shouldn't get his hopes up.
If you did a poll about who's more popular, Donald Trump or lead paint, I suspect lead is more popular than Donald Trump in the Bronx.
And yet, look at that crowd. There are a lot of red hats in there.
They're all from out of state. Go out there and look at all them cars that are parked and check them where they came from. Tennessee, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Texas.
Well,
I
maybe
love
not
that
all.
woman.
This young man is from Queens. You ever been to the Bronx before? Yeah!
I've been to the Bronx once. This is my first time coming here.
But like a lot of others.
Oh,
He's a
anyway.
great person. He does care for all the American people, for the country.
He saved the country. We were in great shape. Now we're in terrible shape.
There were a few tense moments as the two sides shared space in the park, but most were tolerant of one another, if dismissive.
I'm not surprised that ignorance is here, and I choose to not be ignorant because I read books.
Donald Trump can now say he held a rally in the South Bronx, home to immigrants and minority communities, and that it was well attended. It's just not clear that the people who attended were
From New York, or from the Bronx. There have to be moments when they're talking to those Trump supporters that you think, oh, I know those people.
My takeaway from that is, as someone who grew up in New York City, I can't believe Jim Dolan is still reporting for Eyewitness. but he's a good reporter, really good reporter. But it's amazing. Look, this what these Trump rallies. You were talking about right-wing media before. These Trump rallies are for right-wing media. They're to show these, the message and remessage and making up the facts and seeing these people from out of state who said he saved America. Well, if America was saved, why it couldn't possibly be bad in a second. I don't think a lot of people there speak Spanish at that rally. I didn't see a lot of African Americans there. It was not a typical South Bronx crowd from the looks of it, but I don't think it matters. It's just Trump getting out there, not leaving the city because he's got to be close to the courthouse, and scheduling these rallies and trying to speak to the lowest common denominator.
Love our time. Thank you, Michael. Walter says, yeah, there were 1,700,000 people at that rally. All right. Kim, before I excuse the witness, did you have something?
I did. I wanted to talk to you about a story that I just saw about Donald Trump's attorneys now trying to block the release of this new biopic that's due out called The Apprentice. Yeah. And Variety says Trump's legal team has sent a cease and desist order or letter to the filmmakers behind this movie. It's based on Trump's real estate career in the 80s. It includes a scene showing him assaulting his then wife, Ivana Trump. So it's not flattering to him in some context. And it doesn't even have a distributor at this point, the movie. But do you think these movies that kind of come out right before elections have much of an impact? And are they right to try to squash it down?
Well, I mean, to answer your two questions, yes, if they try and squash it down, and no, if they don't. I mean, I think they're bringing attention. I never understand why they send the cease and desist up. More people will now watch that film because they sent the desist than would have had they not. So right. It always fascinates me because we all know in America that bad coverage is better than no coverage, and right. No coverage is what this would have gotten. Looks silly. Apparently, it's a pretty dark film. I was reading about it in Rolling Stone, and they kind of talk about the fact that it's an unvarnished look at him, and it's not bad. Yeah. Meaning not a bad movie. Meaning anyway. Chris, who is our resident Trumpy, said, it looked like a lot more people were at that rally. They were crowded outside of the security zone. Oh, is that it, Chris? Yeah. By the way, the number of people is completely dependent on his people. Because they curated the crowd. They completely curated. His security zone was the one that was set up. So, and this is true, and we made this point long ago. Karen is right. New Yorkers always knew about Trump and did not like him, despised him, is what Karen said. But it is true. Yeah, that's not friendly territory in New York City. A lot of people from New York City, their opinions about him were made well before he was a public figure. In the pre-Apprentice days, certainly.
Michael, you've been very kind with your time, as you always are, and we look forward to these visits. He's Michael Shure, Shure, across social media and beyond, and you'll see him here on Fridays. And I think you will be part of June's Swoon. You're going to stop in for 10 minutes or so, if possible.
Swoon. I never miss a swoon.
Okay. Michael Shure, everybody. Thanks, Michael. Bye-bye.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Right on. Right on. Right on. Kim, I just had the Culture Blaster walk in, but he's not quite settled yet. I think we could do some news.
I think I can make it happen, yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll get to Michael and the Culture Blaster. Smash the like button if you would. Give us the thumbs up. It helps us in the world of YouTube.
With your iron rod.
With the algorithms, and we've got the every rhythm, the algos, and the other stuff, the biorhythms and the algorithms, and the... don't move anything, Michael. God.
You are in a mood today. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I am. I've been pushed to the limits.
I think agitated.
I've been pushed to the limits, Kim. I'm fighting through so much. By the way, I'll just make this note. We are dark on Monday, Memorial Day. There'll be no show. We're still trying to get something together for you that we'll have up there on Monday. But this is interesting. But I'll keep you posted. But we won't be doing a show. I might pop on for a second or something. Chris saying, what's funny is I've never supported Trump. But if you don't denounce Trump, I'm labeled a Trump supporter. Well, if you concoct BS around his rallies and other stuff that he did in his administration, that's when I label you a Trump supporter. Yeah. So, and that was, that's all I'm saying. Chris, I adore you. I adore you. Look at Kim. I don't have hate in my heart for anybody, Kim. You know that. That's a problem because you're frustrated by that.
Yeah.
You like to red card people. I don't like to red card people.
I'd like for you to be a little more hateful if you could.
Yeah. Kim, how are you?
All right, Kim's news and then the Culture Blaster, Michael Snyder. So let's rock it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee. Let's go right to Trump. Yeah. Former President Trump wants Nikki Haley working with him in some form. That's what the presidential candidate said yesterday after a rally in the Bronx. Trump telling News 12 New York that he and Haley share a lot of the same ideas. His comment,
she's a 7, but if I could get her some new wardrobe, I could get her up to an 8.
His comments come a day after Haley said, yeah, she'll vote for Trump this fall, sure. He's not perfect, but yeah, he's better than President Biden, is what she had to say. Speaking of President Biden, he is paying tribute to the families in Uvalde, marking the second year since that deadly shooting at Robb Elementary School. In a letter from President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden, the president said he honors the lives of the 19 students and 2 teachers lost when an 18-year-old shooter entered that school. President Biden's deputy director, Robert Wilcox, is expected to join Uvalde residents at a candlelight vigil tonight. There is a missionary group based in Claremore. They are confirming that at least 3 of their missionaries have been killed by gangs in Haiti. Missions in Haiti identifies the victims as 23-year-old David Lloyd, his wife, 21-year-old Natalie Lloyd, and the group's Haitian program director, 20-year-old Jude Montes. A Facebook post says they were ambushed by gang members yesterday and shot and killed. Natalie Lloyd is the daughter of Missouri State Representative Ben Baker as well.
Wow. Bummer.
In
really tough.
Oakland, there's the graduation season, happy graduation, not so much. At Skyline High School, 2 people were shot last night in the parking lot.
God.
The gunfire ended celebrations as people ran in panic and ducked for cover. A fire department spokesperson says a man and woman were wounded and are in stable condition. Witnesses report seeing someone in a car with a gun firing shots toward the graduation ceremony and the crowds. Could have been
so it was just
worse.
A drive-by.
It was a drive-by outside graduation. They were firing toward the graduation ceremony. Yeah. I mean, come on. In San Jose, a slew of trees just added already damaged. This is why we can't have nice things. Mayor Matt Mahan was on hand in the Calle Willow neighborhood 2 weeks ago to help plant 29 trees. Now, 26 of them need to be repaired. This time, the city will add wire to protect them. Police say they arrested the man responsible. They don't know why he did it, though. The trees are meant to provide shade along the sidewalks and hopefully bring more business to the stores there.
It was a guy who did all the damage?
Yeah.
One guy?
At least. Maybe they're looking for others. We don't know.
Jeez, man.
But why would you do that? Come on. The holiday travel rush on in the Bay Area for the whole Memorial Day weekend. But those flying out of SFO could be left waiting a lot longer, and that is because a new report calls the airport the worst in the nation when it comes to delayed flights during Memorial Day weekend. JW Surety is an insurance and surety bond provider. It puts SFO at the top, saying there's a nearly 28% chance a flight won't leave on time through Monday. So, you're headed to SFO, just know that going in.
Yeah, bring a change of clothes.
They're partying it up in Napa Bottle Rock, Napa Valley, helping kick off the summer season. The music and the food festival begins today in the North Bay with headliners Pearl Jam, Ed Sheeran, Stevie Nicks, and Mana. The event launched in 2013. By 2016, it was moved to take place during Memorial Day weekend. The gates open at 11 a.m. through Sunday and will close at 10 p.m. That's a hard curfew, although we've seen artists break it in the past, meaning organizers might actually pull the plug on the last set to end the show. They haven't. In the past, they've taken the fine, so...
Yeah, that always adds a little drama to the last set, knowing that the plug could be pulled.
Yeah, when are they going to, turn me off? I don't know.
Right.
I wanted to do this last story because I think it's wild. There was a mom from Fresno, and she took her 5 kids to the beach. 5 kids. So it's hard to keep track of all these kids, apparently. And they thought they were collecting seashells. That's what she thought they were doing. Apparently, they were collecting clams, and you're not supposed to do that. So this woman, Charlotte Russ, tells the reporter she took her kids on a day trip to Pismo Beach and made a mistake by letting her kids take clams from the beach. Well, she was confronted by an official from the State Department of Fish and Wildlife and informed that her kids were collecting clams without a license. So he gives her a ticket the day of the incident, and later she gets a note in the mail that she faces an $88,000 fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That better be a nice beach.
They take it very seriously when you're collecting clams without a license. She said, my kids just thought they were collecting seashells. Now I have to pay $88,000 to the State Department of Wildlife.
Wow.
This report is sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee. It's
I'm drinking it right now, baby. Let me tell you what. I keep it warm throughout the whole show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Take a big old swig. Mm-hmm. Oh, the red cup today. Yeah.
What with the red cup, which is just a store-bought cup, but I put the
stickers.
Mark Thompson Show sticker on it. Mm-hmm. Give it a, kind of, give it a little some branding.
Yeah. Good stuff, huh?
That's stovetop espresso that we're serving today at the Thompson estate. I do encourage many of you who may not have yet found the word to find it at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Now, the word for you might be espresso. The word for you might be light roast. That would be 2 words, I guess. But more than anything, I want you to be aware of the fact that these are hand-roasted beans, and it is a fabulous place for you to at least check out what a real, refined, and personal boutique-type coffee is like. You will find the richness. You will find the freshness. You'll find things that you just don't find in the discounted beans that you see elsewhere, maybe on the internet, in the grocery stores. I've talked to you about that before. That is not fresh crop. Those are beans that have been hanging out for a while, so they discount them to move them. Mm-hmm. And here at the Coachella Valley Coffee crew, you will get the very best. Handcrafted in the Coachella Valley, as the website says. But most of all, I want you to know this. Use the discount code for 10% off whatever you get. They have teas. They've curated just a magnificent website there where you have a choice of many, many different things. Kim likes the tea. Courtney likes the tea. I'm a big coffee drinker, as you know, and many of you who've been turned on to it are really happy. There's Vicky and Sausalito, Coachella Valley Coffee, the best. So when you go, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, mark T at checkout. Even if you sign up for a subscription where they send it to you every month or 2 months or whatever, you'll get 10% off that. Whatever you order, you'll get 10% off. Mark T at checkout. So what is a hand-roasted bean? Sounds meaning they instead of it being automatically done by machine, and it's just kind of and then they just bag everything. There's somebody actually there watching and monitoring heat, and everything has to be done just so. And so you can read about it on their website.
Say Vicky has the Coachella Valley Coffee or Uncle Russ here, and they take a sip at their house. Do they also hear the harpsichord?
They do. It's not a harpsichord, it's a harp, and they would hear it in their mind.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. You don't always have to, it doesn't have to be audible for everyone.
Yeah.
As long as you feel it and hear it, it's special.
That's all that matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you'll find that indeed the case. So CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, Mark T at checkout for 10% off.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you for being with us. I am excited. It is a harp glissando, says Tom. Tom is a very smart, funny, I think he's a voiceover artist, among other things maybe, but it's a harp glissando. Glissando is a ding word, and Tom is the keeper of the ding. We ding SAT type words on this show, and Tom sort of keeps track of them. Michael, I will get to you in a moment. I did notice there is a new viewer. We like to treat all our new viewers to the kind of love and respect that they deserve. Here it is. It's Carol, a $5 super chat, Michael. How about a little shout out?
Big shout out.
Yeah. Big shout out.
Welcome aboard,
She
Carol.
says,
Woohoo!
first timer like it, and she throws a 5 in. Thank you, Carol. We are a crowd-funded show, and Carol has just been part of the crowd that is doing the funding, which endears her to me for a long time. And from Luis, a $5 super chat.
Big shout out.
Mark, please distinguish between trolls and Trumpy cult members. LOL. Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes it is a subtle distinction when we're talking about people who are in the chat. And I say somebody's a Trumpy. Sometimes people are just being, provocateurs. That's kind of Chris. He likes, to do that. And Chris is sort of, he's our resident provocateur. Really what happens is Kim gets rid of the provocateurs over time, which I don't necessarily approve of, but that's what she does. And we don't, mommy and daddy don't always agree on that. Vivian El Shawa. How about Vivian? Big shout out. Have a great Memorial Day, Vivian. Thank you for being such a regular supporter of our show. So grateful. And Luis, this was supposed to be for Michael Shure. How was it not put up there during Michael Shure? Go Rangers. Here's $2, an Oilers versus Rangers Cup final. I'm sorry, Michael, that we didn't get Luis's comment up there. And Luis, I'm sorry I didn't get it up there for Michael's segment. I was really let down by, who let me down on that? Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. And Jim Slayton with a 5 spot. Thank you, Jim. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Super sticker. Thank you. And Vicky in Sausalito with a $20 super chat. Big shout out says, hi, Mark. I think you'd be good on Jeopardy too. Wow, is that not true? I would be awful on. I'll tell you. I'm going to tell. Michael? Do you mind if I relate something here? You don't mind waiting for another minute?
Classic, the classic Mark Thompson time waster. Yeah, I mean,
this is a classic Mark Thompson.
We're going to go over a little bit because it's a holiday weekend, right? I don't want people,
Waster. No, you're going to get all your time, Michael.
Oh, thank you.
You'll get all your time.
Okay, good.
Sometimes I love watching Jeopardy, and I get a little bit of the edible going, and I start watching Jeopardy after I get a little buzzed, and all I can think of, Vicky, who think I'd be so good on Jeopardy, is, oh my God, these people are so smart, and I have wasted my life. Because I do that whole thing when you're high, you do this thing I do anyway, where I'm full of regret, and I can't believe I should have studied more, and why aren't I as smart as these people on Jeopardy? So I would be abysmal on Jeopardy. Abysmal, though, is a ding word. And thank you, though, for having faith in me. Did I get everybody or not? No? Is that it? Is anybody still here? Anybody? Kim? Tony? No? Okay. Beth Farmer, first live watch. Hi, Kim. Danielle from high school. Love you guys.
That's
DG2.
Danielle.
Check that out. Big shout out, DG2.
Big shout out.
Yeah.
She's awesome. I love her.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I'm in love with her too.
You should be.
That's how easy I am. $10
Girl
buys
can do
my
the hula.
love.
That's right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Very nice. Did you guys hang out together in high school?
No, she was a couple years older than me, but she was like the cool older cheerleader that you really wanted to be like.
I see.
Mm-hmm. She and her boyfriend were like the it couple, and they got married, and they're still married, and they're still the it couple.
Wow.
They're really cute. Yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah, keeping it together is impressive.
Yeah. Love her.
And this from Beth Farmer. Thanks for selling me. What is that? Explain that to me.
Thanks for sailing me yours of TV time. I don't know if I can make heads or tails of that one.
Beth, please explain. However, Beth, while you're explaining, I want you to know we bathe you in love for $20 super chat.
Yeah.
Absolutely bathe you in love. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Oh, thank you for saving me TV time. So, see, you showed her the Jeopardy, and now she doesn't have to go. So you saved it for her. You saved her the time.
That was very well done.
Right? Yeah.
Very well done, Kim.
Kim, how are you?
Very well done. That was super. And Beth, thank you for the $20 super chat. And I also think you got all you needed from my my summary of Jeopardy, even though we didn't get Bill on the show, who's our Jeopardy ninja. All right, without any further delay, let me get this next segment going.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I love this guy. He's got a new perch that he'll tell you about. He's a great writer. In addition to being such a terrific mind when it comes to music and movies and television, it really, and live performance too, really something special. Happy that he joins us every Friday, and he comes and goes on a rainbow. He is Michael Snyder, everyone, the culture blaster.
Well, I'm happy to hear my harp glissando because now I feel like I'm in competition with Coachella Valley Coffee's glissando.
It's true. Yours is different, though.
It is. And I do want to point out that those hand-roasted beans means that the people at Coachella Valley actually take each individual bean and roast it. They look it over. They make sure it's going to pass muster before they go into the grinder.
It's a process.
It is. Kim, I'm glad you brought out Bottle Rock. Every time I hear...
Second, hang on a second. Tony is saying something. Hold on a second.
Michael's distorting. You might want to turn him down on your board.
Okay.
I'm overly enthusiastic. Is that it?
Now it's distorting.
It's distorting.
I'm the harbinger of the...
Is that better or not? No,
a little
further
less.
down. Hang on.
Memorial Day holiday. Just kill the mic. I'll shout over yours. It'll be fine.
I don't know, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Don't I just push down on the big wheel and turn?
Yeah, that should work. You just see the little level line go down.
Go ahead, Michael.
Is this better, Tony?
Much better. There we go.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I feel like we should start over again. I don't like shouting. I feel like...
Okay, we can start over again. We can do this.
No. Well, let's roll.
You don't want to start? Oh, all right. No. Okay. He comes and goes on a rainbow. How about it for the culture blaster, Michael Snyder, everybody?
Hey, hi, I'm here. I am the harbinger of the Memorial Day holiday weekend. I'm feeling very
Harbinger's
festive.
a ding word. Yeah.
Our Giants are doing pretty well. The kids are all right. I remember that old Giants advertisement back in the day. You gotta like these kids, and boy, it's true. Matos and Ramos and Luciano and Kyle Harrison. They brought an infusion of energy, and I hope it continues. And we see this weekend whether they can keep the wins coming against the New York Mets. Kim, I'm glad you brought up Bottle Rock. Every time I hear about Bottle Rock, though, I think it's some kind of music festival for babies, like with Barney and the Teletubbies headlining. It's Bottle Rock. Don't forget to use the formula, everybody, and keep your nipples ready.
There should be a baby convention called Bottle Rock. You're right about that.
It's crazy. As far as Nikki Haley, honestly, every time I see she goes full duplicitous on us, I think of that old song from 1966, Nikki Hokey, which was written by P.J. Proby and performed by like Bobby Gentry and Aretha. Nikki Hokey, how did they know that this was going to be a Hokey Nikki so many years down the road?
That's a terrific reference that I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a great song. It's very much a Cajun, swampy. I love it. Nikki Hokey.
That's why we love you.
Do not love Nikki Haley. Anyway, full disclosure, last Sunday, I could have attended a screening of the Garfield movie. It's the latest commercial attempt to capitalize on the popularity of the fat, lazy, lasagna-loving comic strip cat Garfield, who, he provokes his idiot owner, John, and John's dim-witted dog, Odie. He's vexed by the kitten, Nermal, and I guess tolerated by John's unrequited love, some woman named Liz. I could have attended the screening.
Vexed is a ding word.
But I passed. You know how Garfield hates Mondays, Mark?
Yeah.
I hate Garfield. Anyway, I did not.
So you did not go to the Garfield screening?
The perfect Garfield movie in my mind would be like Odie gets rabies and bites John, who dies horribly, and then
you know what? That's how dare you insult Garfield, that sweet cat.
I know.
You don't even see the movie, and you still. I think your insulting privileges should be removed when you haven't seen the film.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm talking about the general,
I see.
overall.
You're aware of the franchise.
I am all too aware of it. Let's move on to another movie rather than the Garfield movie, which I think I made the right choice not going. I just have that feeling. But anyway, let's get down to business with Furiosa. which may sound like the title of a new telenovela, but is in fact the latest entry in the dystopian Mad Max sci-fi franchise from Australian filmmaker George Miller. This is actually a prequel that reveals the brutal backstory of Charlize Theron's character in the previous installment, 2015's Mad Max Fury Road. Virtually all of Miller's Mad Max films are violent, kind of mordantly satirical about society and where it might go in the face of calamity, visually stunning, action extravaganzas, and that's starting with the first one in like 1979, which starred...
Mad Max, that was the Mel Gibson movie.
It starred the then tolerable Mel Gibson as Mad Max, also known as the Road Warrior, a roving former police officer battling marauders in the post-apocalyptic Australian wasteland. So Mel went on to do 2 sequels, and then the character was on ice until Miller made the stirring Fury Road with Tom Hardy playing Max opposite Theron. So Furiosa, which is subtitled A Mad Max Saga, stars Anya Taylor-Joy as the younger version of Theron's character, who came from the Green Place, which is an idyllic hidden enclave, but was kidnapped as a child by the minions of an insane warlord named Dementus. Heavy-handed much?
It's a bit on the nose, yes.
He's played by Chris Hemsworth, gobbling up the scenery like crazy. Although Dementus seeks to plunder her home community, the young Furiosa, the kid Furiosa, is determined to not reveal its location, and when she gets older, her driving force is the desire to get revenge on Dementus and return to her home. So Furiosa is a very good companion piece to Fury Road, getting deep into the politics, barter system, and power struggles of the wastelands. So there are 3 distinct bases of operation. The Citadel, which is a fortress ruled by a crazed fascist dictator. Kind of reminds me of the Trump years here.
They had their own little...
There's the Bullet Farm, which mines and forges armaments, and then Gastown with wells and a refinery that provides fuel for all the vehicles that cross the desert, because that's how people get around and attack one another, I guess. So these 3 centers of civilization, such as it is, honor an uneasy trade agreement, but Dementus, with his biker army, wants to take over all 3 locations and plots accordingly. So Taylor-Joy doesn't have much dialogue, but she kind of doesn't need much because her daring do and her embodiment of Furiosa's fury are quite enough to hold your attention. Hemsworth is a hoot. Tom Burke, playing a truck driver for the Citadel, is a stalwart kind of Mad Max stand-in. And the road race set pieces, the battles, and the capers, including aerial assaults, are amazingly orchestrated by Miller, who co-authored the Why Tell When You Can Show script with Nick Lathuris. Plus, the ragged style and the design details are just right for the setting. Look, as sci-fi movies in arid desert locations go, Furiosa has none of the textual depth and richness and kind of interstellar sweep of Denis Villeneuve's Dune. I mean, instead, it's more pure uncut viscera. It's kind of a heady, brain-rattling potion that Miller has delivered in every one of his Mad Max movies. If this is your cup of tea, by all means, check it out. I thought it was very well done, of kind. It's in theaters. And by the way, I do want to point out, at the advanced screening of Furiosa that I attended in Burbank, because I'm down in L.A. at the moment, many wastelanders came out of the barren desert vastness via cycle, dune buggy, and hang glider to see the show.
It's sort of the...
yeah.
There's a cosplay to it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe they didn't come from the desert. Maybe they could have just driven in from Silver Lake and Highland Park. I mean, I didn't ask because they looked a little fearsome. But in any case, there was a happy horde of fans in the aftermath of the movie. I thought it was good for these Mad Max movies. And again, a good companion piece for Fury Road.
Some word about Mel from Alan Rossi says, when on location shooting The Bounty, crew members told me that he was picked up, Mel Gibson was, for DUI. And Mel said to the officer, "Hey, I'm Mad Max." I hope that's true. It's
fellow peace officer. All right, let's go to a movie I can unreservedly praise. I mean, I really liked Furiosa. I thought it was well done for what it is. But this is a movie I can wholeheartedly recommend if it's
viscera's a ding word.
Your cup of tea. Richard Linklater is one of my favorite filmmakers, so there's an advantage to this film that other movies may not have because he made it. I've been on board with his work from early efforts like the high school comedy Dazed and Confused, the unfettered fun of School of Rock, which turned into a little mini industry with a Broadway show and all that, and more experimental stuff like there are those movies Before Sunrise, starring Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, and the sequels. And he did this Oscar-winning 2014 movie Boyhood that was shot over the course of more than a decade with the same actors, Ethan Hawke, Patricia Arquette, Eller Coltrane, and Lorelai Linklater, who is his daughter, by the way, portraying father, mother, son, and daughter throughout the movie in order to watch the family, in particular the son, grow and change as time went on. It's really an amazing
I remember you gave it a
film.
really good review.
Even Linklater's lesser-known movies, like Everybody Wants Some, which is a personal favorite of mine, and I highly recommend that you seek out. They hold up beautifully. Now I'm happy to report that he's delivered another terrific film with Hitman, which uses the real-life escapades of a guy named Gary Johnson as inspiration for an unexpected mix of neo-noir crime thriller, rom-com, and morality play with a stealth treatise on the nature of identity. And for all that, it's fun. It stars the square-jawed Glenn Powell, who had a significant supporting role in Top Gun Maverick, and upped the ante as leading man opposite Sydney Sweeney in the recent hit romantic comedy Anyone But You. Powell plays a fictionalized version of Johnson, here a professor at the University of New Orleans, whose skill at creating and inhabiting different personas allows him to moonlight as a fake hitman for the New Orleans Police Department. So his part-time job is to ensnare people looking to hire a contract killer, but when he falls for one of his marks, the very pretty and sexy Madison, played by Adria Arjona, and
why does she want to have somebody killed?
He dissuades her from going through with a hit on her estranged husband, who's apparently threatening her. So she responds to this character that Gary is portraying, and they start an affair, which gets increasingly risky for both of them.
Wow.
So even though the complications get dark, Hitman has more than its share of comedic moments. Powell, who was one of Linklater's two screenwriting collaborators on the movie's very sharp script, is impressive as Johnson, kind of funny and charming. You know what? I'm sitting there watching, I'm thinking, this is like a latter-day American version of Cary Grant. He really has that kind of quality. And he has great chemistry with Arjona. And the two of them bring the heat. And the supporting players are uniformly great, especially Austin Emilio, Retta, and Sanjay Rao as Johnson's cop handlers. And then the cast members portraying a string of would-be criminals who are targets for the police sting. They're hilarious. They're really fun to watch get their comeuppance. And of course, the New Orleans locations are super cool. Hitman deserves to be a hit, man. If you know what I mean.
I get it. I see what you did.
It's in theaters this weekend, and it's streaming on Netflix starting next Friday.
Oh. Now, the real life person that was based upon was a real hitman or a real fake hitman?
He was a real fake hitman.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure I got that clear.
That has to be really clear, but liberties are taken in this movie.
Oh, I get it.
It's
I know.
inspired by the guy's life,
right.
but it, that's all I'll say.
Now that they mentioned cosplay, Viewfinder's president says, what is it? What's it called? Fanime Con? Anime convention is happening all this weekend in San Jose at the McInerney Convention Center. The attendees are parading around town, all around San Jose in costume.
If you see somebody walking around San Jose who has gigantic eyes and a tiny mouth, they're probably at the anime convention.
Very strong. Go ahead, Michael.
If you don't know much about the American musical phenomenon that was and is the Beach Boys, the new documentary, simply titled The Beach Boys, will clue you in. At very least, it'll make a clear case for their importance in the history of popular music, for the brilliance of their de facto leader and primary songwriter Brian Wilson, happily still with us, and their place in the cultural pantheon. After all, in addition to scads of memorable hit singles about surfing, cars, young love, and teen angst in general, Brian Wilson masterminded what is unanimously considered one of the greatest albums ever recorded, Pet Sounds, which was a creative volley in a rivalry that the Beach Boys had with the Beatles back in the 60s. So blossoming in Southern California during the early 60s, the Beach Boys were founded by the three Wilson brothers, Brian, Carl, and Dennis, teenagers at the time, and it was intended as a rock and roll group that would showcase their love of harmony singing, part doo-wop, part folk music, and part that wholesome, gorgeous vocal blend in the manner of their heroes, the Four Freshmen. They were like a well-scrubbed quartet.
With those sweaters they used to wear.
But their voices came together in this beautiful, beautiful meld. So this, was their inspiration. But also, these guys wanted to rock out like Chuck Berry. So surfing was a craze, a massive craze, with twangy surf music like that of the instrumental group The Ventures. That was all on the rise, and they caught that wave, if you know what I mean. They replaced this initial fifth member. Well, actually, their fourth member was Mike Love, who was a family member in a way. He was their cousin, and he eventually became the front man and did these unfussy, teen-oriented lyrics. And then they had a neighbor guy named David Marks, and they added him to the lineup. They caught fire with a couple singles, and then they blew up with Surfin' USA, which was the first of a long line of hits that kept coming in the 60s and into the early 70s. I Get Around, Dance, 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 California Girls, and the complexity of the arrangements kept getting more and more stunning as Brian Wilson grew as a creative force. So shortly after their initial success, they replaced Marks when he decided the band wasn't for him. And it was another family friend, Al Jardine, whose instrumental skills were very valuable and whose own singing voice was this sweet addition to the, I'd call them genetically matched harmonies of the other four boys. So the documentary is co-directed by Frank Marshall and Tom Zimney, and it refrains from delving too deeply into the darker parts of the band's story, only touching on Brian's fragile mental state, which led him from Surf City to, Breakdown City. They gloss over the legal squabbles between Love and the rest of the band, and they only add a short dedication to the late Carl and Dennis Wilson without placing their respective deaths in any context. But it does address the oppressive nature of their father, Murray, who managed them at the start of their career, and the short and strange acquaintance of Dennis and Charles Manson. They were acquainted back in the day, and the Beach Boys recorded a B-side to one of their singles that was, at least in part, written by Manson. They kind of buried this little piece of news over the time since then. But more importantly, the Beach Boys pays the majority of its attention to the band's music, how it came together, how it changed, and Brian Wilson's growth as a composer and producer, presenting excerpts from interviews with the Wilsons, Love, and Jardine, and testimonials from peers and colleagues, including members of the Wrecking Crew, the LA studio musicians who collaborated on some of the group's most crucial recordings, Lindsey Buckingham, Janelle Monáe, Don Was, and all of that is fascinating, and those harmonies continue to thrill. So when the five main Beach Boys are shown singing an a cappella version of Their Hearts Were Full of Spring, in archival footage early in the movie, the hair on the back of my neck stood on end. And similar moments pepper the Beach Boys, and to my ears, they're reason enough to watch it. It is available to be streamed on Disney+. It's not deep, but it's, on the music side, it gives you all that you ever want to know about it.
And to be clear, it would say documentary.
It is indeed a documentary. Okay. It is not a docudrama. Okay, so sure. You're getting the real guys talking. Bruce Johnson, who joined the band. Glenn Campbell was a Beach Boy for a while.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Brian hated touring early in their successful run of hit records, and they found replacements for him. And then he would join them when they were in Southern California or for special events. Meanwhile, he buried himself in the studio and was doing all these remarkable pieces of music that still today make your heart swell.
And it was pointed out that, sadly, he's, turned over his affairs to a
conservator?
Thank you. That's exactly the word I wanted.
Maybe that's the case right now. There was a guy named Dr. Eugene Landy who was his psychiatrist.
Oh, that was a huge controversy.
Incredibly controlling. He is not addressed in this film at all.
I was going to ask you.
So it's not a complete and total picture of their story, but there's so much, and the concentration on the music is so exciting, and the music is so beautiful. You may want to dismiss it as teen baloney because of the early nature of their songs, but tunes like The Warmth of the Sun and Don't Worry Baby and God Only Knows and Good Vibration. Oh God, they're so beautiful. I can't even.
Wow.
Quickly, let's wrap up. I did want to tell people about a foreign film. That's right. I got to address that funky foreign thing.
Love it. You get back to those subtitles you love.
Yeah, Farewell, Mr. Hoffman. And again, those who do not remember history are doomed to repeat it. This movie, starring the amazing French superstar Daniel Auteuil, is all about a Jewish jeweler and his family confronted with the occupation of Paris in 1941. And our hero, so to speak, Mr. Hoffman, sends his wife and children away to a protected zone at the time, and he's going to join them. His assistant, who is not Jewish, who is working for him, is bequeathed the store in a deal which would allow Hoffman to buy the store back after the war. So what ends up happening is he can't get out of occupied Paris. So he has to actually hide out in the basement of his jewelry store and dwelling with this former assistant as the front man, who begins sucking up to the Nazi generals and selling them jewelry that basically Hoffman makes because he doesn't have the creative skills of Hoffman. And the assistant, if you will, who is now in charge, Francois, has a wife who is kind of torn. They want a child, and the guy Francois can't give her the child. This ends up creating another dynamic with our three principals who are stuck in this circumstance.
Wow.
I thought it was really brilliant. Again, we don't want to ever forget about the horrors of World War II, and particularly how they impacted the Jewish community, under fire now on some level.
And I'm reminded by that story of someone who you introduced me to. You took me to the Henri Doman
the photo exhibit.
The photo exhibit where we met Henri. I think he calls himself Henry. I call him Henri.
Yeah,
but,
well, if he's in France, he was
he
Henri
would be Henri.
Doman.
But anyway, he faced that same situation where his father and the family was facing Nazi occupation in Paris, and his father was told, "Get out of here because the Nazis are going to, imprison you and you'll never be seen again." But he didn't feel he served in the French army, and he said, "Oh, they won't imprison me. I serve my country admirably." Anyway, point is they did incarcerate him several days later, and Henri never saw his dad again.
Jeez.
So there are a bunch of stories like that out of Nazi occupied Europe, and this is interesting. Mr. Hoffman. It's Farewell, Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah, it's based on Philippe Daguerre's Molière award-winning play, and in addition to Daniel Auteuil being amazing as Joseph Hoffman, I have to say Gilles Lelouch, another very renowned French actor, is amazing as Francois Mercier, his assistant turned boss, essentially, and an amazing performance by Sarah Giraudot as Mercier's wife, Blanche. It's really well done. It's in theaters, and I highly recommend Farewell, Mr. Hoffman.
Wow. Michael, you've really hit the ball today. You brought us some very big movies, and you brought us, in the case of Farewell, Mr. Hoffman, a foreign film where we'll likely be drawn in by a plot that sounds like it's multifaceted.
Beautiful performances, too.
Yeah. So Farewell, Mr. Hoffman, again, the Jewish jeweler in 1941 Paris confronting a growing Nazi occupation. And that is in theaters at the moment. It is with subtitles in French. The Beach Boys on Disney Plus. That is the documentary that documents so much of the Beach Boys' music. Michael says it's really a great trip through their music. It's not a complete, total story of every aspect of the world of the Beach Boys, but there's a lot there to really love if you like the Beach Boys. Hitman is the Richard Linklater offering, and it stars Glenn Powell playing a fictionalized version of an actual fake hitman who worked with the authorities, and he falls in love with Adrienne Arjona. Is that how she? And
Adria.
Is that how she says it? Adria Arjona? How does that, what's the name? Anyway, he falls in love with the client.
A beautiful young actress.
Yeah, someone who's trying to arrange a hit on her husband. He talks her out of that, and then the weirdness ensues.
Yeah, Adria Arjona is a find.
Adria Arjona.
Their chemistry is, part of the fun.
So that's in theaters now. Again, it's called Hitman. And finally, firstly, he started with Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. It's the prequel to the Charlize Theron Mad Max offering.
Yeah, with Tom Hardy, who's still contracted to do another Mad Max movie with Miller, by the way.
And Mad Max has become sort of a little industry, maybe not so little, but it's got the Citadel and the Bullet Farm and Gastown and big effects and huge shots and drone footage. And Michael said, it's big, it's bad, meaning nasty. It's got all that Mad Max stuff, and you may like it. And we got some comments in the chat. People did like it.
I will check.
Yeah. You served up a lot of ding words, sir. We kind of keep track of them now. Mordantly was one. Viscera was another. Tom has them all. De facto was another. Comeuppance, treatise, bequeath.
Dude, these are words I use in common conversation.
I know, because you're an erudite, but I'm just going to give you the multiple dings.
Oh, thank you. Feels so good.
And you have our mad respect. You can read Michael, the Culture Blaster, regularly in a new publication that Bay Area people really may like. It's called Voice of San Francisco. And where can people find it?
You can go online and find it at www.thevoicesf.org. My most recent piece is a little something on film noir, but I'm coming up with a little piece shortly about Music City SF, which is a wonderful operation that's trying to bring culture and creativity back to a city that was eviscerated by COVID and by rising rents and services and the coming of the digital age driving out the artists.
Eviscerated is a ding word. TheVoiceSF.org. Find Michael Snyder. TheVoiceSF.org. And there it is. You can see it. Tony's called it up for you there. The splash page.
Yeah, you can also follow me on X at Culture Blaster and at Threads at Mike the Knife 123.
Wow, there's a lot of ways to follow you. I'm learning. Yeah, good for you, Michael.
This is a classic Mark Thompson time waster.
All right, Michael. Thank you. We love you. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Michael Snyder.
Go Giants!
Come on. You got to love my Michael Snyder. Come on. You know.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Feel good about it, everybody. Feel good. We try to give you a supersized Friday show with a lot of stuff in here. In fact, it's going to have to last you for the whole long weekend, which is why we didn't want to cut anything short. So we tried to accommodate as much as we could. Feel like we had a couple of hiccups, but generally speaking,
Yes,
a
all right.
fine
Yeah.
offering.
Yeah.
Do I have any other business to do before we ease out?
I think we're good.
Okay. Tony, I want to thank you. I know these are not normal days that we find you in our circle, so you, I thought, stepped up quite admirably.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
I did all right.
Tony's got editing to do and other stuff
God,
that
so
he's...
much stuff to do.
Yeah, you've got a lot of stuff to do.
Oh, God.
We've all got stuff to do. I got to go over to KFI if you're in Southern California. I'll be on doing Conway's show from 4 to 7 tonight in Southern California, because you can listen on the iHeartRadio app or wherever if you want.
Where you going?
But more than anything, thank you for supporting this show. Yeah, we need your support, and a couple of new viewers. Thank you for cycling through, and hope you hit the like button and make us a regular part of your viewing habits, and subscribe. We just passed 33,000 subscribers, so yeah.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Yeah, really quite excited about the growth of the show. So couldn't do it without all of you. Thanks. Have a good week. Until next week. Bye-bye.